22 deaths among a population of 5 million declared last week it had eliminated community COVID-19 transmission, allowing it to relax social distancing measures and rely on strict border controls. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said on Monday she had not declared the country virus-free because New Zealand will have cases again in the future. And countries must stay alert to the possibility of resurgence of COVID-19 cases. World Health Organization warned today following reports of a new cluster in Beijing after more than 50 days without a case in that city.
It took more than 2 months for the first 100,000 cases to be reported. For the past 2 weeks, more than 100,000 new cases have been reported almost every single day. Almost 75% of recent cases come from 10 countries, mostly in the Americas and South Asia. However, we also see increasing numbers of cases in Africa, Eastern Europe, Central Asia, and the Middle East. Even in countries that have demonstrated the ability to suppress transmission, countries must stay alert to the possibility of resurgence. Last week, China reported a new cluster of cases in Beijing after more than 50 days without a case in that city. More than 100 cases have now been confirmed. The origin and extent of the outbreak are being investigated.
I think it's important to note that every country is different, and certainly in China, when you spent over 50 days without having any significant local transmission, a cluster like this is a concern, and it needs to be investigated and controlled, and that's exactly what the Chinese authorities are doing. So in that sense, it is big news, but in the great scheme of things around the number of cases per day around the world, it's not. But it is a significant event. We'll track that like we've tracked other significant clusters. We fully expect that our colleagues in China will share that information. It is very important, and they have done so in the past, as have many countries, particularly in sharing the genetic sequence. The finding that this may represent a strain more commonly transmitting in Europe is important, and it may reflect human-to-human transmission more than any other hypothesis, but that remains to be seen.
More than 8 million cases of novel coronavirus have been confirmed worldwide, with more than half in the United States and Europe, according to an AFP tally from official sources at 2200 GMT on Monday. At least 8,202,000 infections, including 435,176 deaths, mostly in Europe, have been registered since the pandemic first emerged in China late last year. And Europe has 2,417,902 cases with 188,085 deaths. The U.S. has 2,110,182 cases and 116,081 deaths. The number of confirmed cases has doubled since May 10, and another 1 million new cases have been detected in the last 8 days. Now, that likely represents only a fraction of the real number of infections, because most of countries are only testing most serious cases or only have limited testing capacity. In Japan, the Bank of Japan boosted their aid for businesses affected by the coronavirus pandemic, and nightclub coronavirus cases has emerged. Dennis Liu joins us live from Japan. Dennis.
Hello.
Hello, Dennis.
Japan Central Bank wrapped up aid. Hello, Alma. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead. Yes, go ahead, Dennis.
Japan Central Bank ramped up aid for businesses struggling with fallout from the coronavirus pandemic. The Bank of Japan expanded its zero-interest loan program to firms to 90 trillion yen, or $837 billion, from 55 trillion yen. Its total war chest for companies amounts to 110 trillion yen when bond purchases are taken into account. The bank said following a 2-day policy meeting, quote, Japan's economy is likely to remain in a severe situation for the time being due to the impact of COVID-19 at home and abroad. although economic activity is expected to resume gradually. It vowed to closely monitor the effects of the virus on the Japanese economy, which has dived into its first recession since 2015. The Bank of Japan made no change to its ultra-loose monetary policy framework, which involves unlimited purchases of government bonds and a negative interest rate. Japan was struggling from the effects of natural disasters and a hike in consumption tax even before the pandemic crippled the global economy. Consumer spending has slowed to a crawl despite Japan's relatively low infection numbers and death toll from the pandemic. A recent spike in cases in Tokyo has raised fears of a second wave. Along with the central bank, the Japanese government has scrambled to pass emergency budgets, including one worth nearly $300 billion that passed the parliament last week to keep the economy moving. Alma?
All right. So, Dennis, when it comes to the coronavirus, how is the infection and recovery rate of the coronavirus there? What are the updates?
The Tokyo Metropolitan Government said it confirmed 27 new coronavirus infections Tuesday, with the capital recording more than 20 cases for the 6th straight day, although Tuesday's figure is lower than the previous 2 days. It's still above Tokyo's monitoring criteria of 20. Some of the criteria for relaxing business restrictions include keeping the weekly average of daily cases under 20, keeping the number of untraceable cases under half of all infections, and ensuring that infections decline every week. The figure comes after Tokyo saw an increase of daily reported cases on Monday and Sunday with 48 and 47 respectively. Monday's figure was the highest since May 5th. The Tokyo Metropolitan Government has said the numbers have risen because it is asking nightlife workers to get tested. The Tokyo government is now asking people working at nightclubs and similar entertainment establishments to regularly take coronavirus tests as part of new measures to stem the spread of the virus in nightlife districts in the capital, such as the Shinjuku's Kabukicho area. Alma.
All right. Thank you very much, Dennis, for your updates there. Thank you, EBC Japan Bureau.
Thank you very much, Alma, reporting live from Tokyo, Japan. This is Dennis Lu. We live in interesting times.
To Spain now, health workers are rallying outside a Madrid hospital demanding better treatment. And Spain's borders will remain closed on Monday as it goes through the final stages of rolling back one of the strictest lockdowns in the world. Mark Julius Aala joins us live from Spain. Julius.
Hello, Alma.
Hello, Julius. Hola.
Hola. So, Spain's healthcare workers won the prestigious Princess of Asturias. Spain's healthcare workers and supporters rally outside a Madrid hospital to demand better treatment within the public health system as resources are stretched amid the coronavirus outbreak.
Pues mira, el rebrote ahora mismo no estaríamos preparados en número, porque todavía colea personal de baja por COVID o por causas indirectamente relacionadas con el mismo, como son estados depresivos, ansiedad, miedo, muchísimas bajas. Ahora mismo tenemos a gente muy joven, inexperta. Ya hemos dicho muchas veces que no vale cualquiera para estar en una UBI o para estar en una unidad de urgencias. Por tanto...
Medidas. Es imperativo que se nos devuelvan las 35 horas, que se acoten los ratios de población por facultativo, que se nos den un material óptimo para trabajar, que podamos trabajar en condiciones, que no sumemos al estrés de estar trabajando con enfermos la falta de material, o no sabes si va a haber, no va a haber. Esa incertidumbre suma muchísimo estrés a un trabajo que ya de por sí tiene muchísima ansiedad.
Con mucha gente, ¿no? Un rebrote nos mataría no literalmente, pero sería horrible, sería terrible. No estamos preparados, no aguantaríamos, estamos agotados, hay compañeros que no han visto a sus familias todavía, no sé si tendríamos capacidad física, mental, para vivir lo que hemos vivido aquí. Ha sido como un...
Spain's healthcare workers won the prestigious Princess of Asturias Prize last June 9, with the jury hailing their heroic spirit of sacrifice in risking their own lives in the frontline fight against COVID-19. Considered the equivalent to a Nobel Prize within the Spanish-speaking world, the Princess of Asturias Award recognizes individuals or institutions in a number of different categories from literature to the arts, science, and sport. Meanwhile, the Spanish Health Ministry reported on Sunday that 48 new coronavirus infections had been detected in the previous 24 hours. This is the same figure recorded last Monday, which was the lowest seen since March 5. According to the latest figures, the weekly number of cases is also on a clear downward trend, with an average of 3.6 infections per 100,000 inhabitants. Spain's borders will remain closed Monday as it goes through the final stages of rolling back one of the strictest lockdowns in the world, although German tourists will be allowed to visit the Balearic Islands as part of a pilot project. So a few more weeks, Spaniards have their tourist sites for themselves. But for July 1, the likes of Barcelona's monumental Sagrada Familia or the ancient Alhambra there in Granada will reopen for foreign visitors. Madrid has set that the target date for the opening of its borders, the resumption of international tourism, as well as ending quarantine for arrivals. With tourism accounting for 12% of GDP, it's hard to imagine a summer season in Spain without its foreign visitors. Masks will remain compulsory in public and closed spaces until the virus is defeated, authorities have warned. In the meantime, Ibiza's lively nightlife gets a boost. Spain's Balearic Islands, which also include their Mallorca and Menorca, will be allowed to welcome almost 11,000 German tourists during the second half of June under this pilot project. Travelers will have their temperature taken on arrival under the scheme, which will be conducted according to strict health guidelines. Alma.
All right. Thank you very much, Julius, for your update there in Spain. And looking forward for more. Thank you very much, EBC Spain Bureau.
Thank you very much, Alma. This is Ala. We live in interesting times.
All right, let's get the latest coronavirus situation in South Korea. Joining us live from Seoul is Christine Jewel Uyabut. Hello, Christine.
Hello, Alma.
Hello.
Yes, so for the update in South Korea, it has been 3 consecutive days that South Korea's coronavirus cases stayed below 40. However, cluster infections in Seoul show no sign of slowdown. According to Korea Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or KCDC, the country added 34 new cases, including 21 local infections, raising to a total of 12,155 cases. South Korea has mostly brought the spread of the virus under control, but a series of cluster infections tied to religious gatherings and online door-to-door delivery services firm in Seoul and the adjacent areas have rekindled woes over another spike in the number of new patients. For over 2 weeks, Seoul accounted for over 90% of the new cases linking to cluster infections. As of Monday, cases traced to a door-to-door business from the west of Seoul reached 172, up 3 from the previous day. Those linked to a warehouse operated by e-commerce company Coupang increased by 5 to 152. Cases linked to a sports facility in Western Seoul advanced by 2 to 66. Virus cases connected to a daycare center for seniors in northeastern Seoul rose by 3 to 22 as well. Another logistics center in southeastern Seoul, operated by an affiliate of retail giant Lotte Group, reported a new COVID-19 case over the weekend, but no additional cases have been added so far. South Korea lifted most of its strict social distancing measures nationwide last month, but a continued rise in cluster infections forced health authorities to indefinitely extend toughened infection preventive measures in Greater Seoul following a 2-week implementation. The new measures were only supposed to run through Sunday, but South Korea decided to have them enforced indefinitely, as group infections in the region showed no signs of a slowdown. The country decided to extend the state-led mask rationing scheme originally set to end this month, up to mid-July. Citizens, however, are allowed to buy up to 10 masks per week from the current 3. Alma?
Right, thank you very much, Christine, for your updates there. And so, stay safe, stay healthy.
Yes, thank you very much. This is Christine Jewel Uyabut. We live in interesting times.
Eagle News, we'll be right back.
Bank of Commerce. What we are is personal banking, where we understand that every deposit is your hard-earned money. Every loan is for good reason. Every service aids in your convenience. Every business of ours is meant to grow yours. We hear you, feel you, and we act on your every banking need. Bank of Commerce, an affiliate of San Miguel Corporation.
Welcome back. In other news, North Korea blew up an inter-Korean liaison office on its side of the border on Tuesday after days of increasingly virulent rhetoric from Pyongyang. Take a look. Television pictures showed smoke rising from a long-shuttered industrial zone just across the border in Kaesong, where the office was set up less than 2 years ago. Analysts say Pyongyang may be seeking to manufacture a crisis to increase pressure on Seoul, while nuclear negotiations with Washington at the office were suspended in January because of the coronavirus pandemic. The demolition came after Kim Yo-jong, the powerful sister of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, said at the weekend that the useless North-South Joint Liaison Office would soon be seen completely collapsed. Now, when Kim Jong-un's 3-week disappearance this April prompted questions about his health, Kim Yo-jong was the person most often cited to succeed him. Rather than fade into the background, she has since become the main face of North Korea's strategy towards South Korea. This month, state media identified her as the first vice department director of the Central Committee for the ruling Workers' Party. In her messages to Seoul, Kim Yo-jong has alternated between calls for unity and announcing that communication links were being cut. The liaison office was opened in September of 2018, days before the South's President Moon Jae-in flew to Pyongyang for his 3rd summit with Kim. And around 20 officials from each side were stationed at the office during subsequent months. But inter-Korean relations soured following the collapse of the Hanoi summit between Kim and U.S. President Donald Trump in February last year over sanctions relief and what the North would be willing to give up in return. And since early June, North Korea has issued a series of vitriolic condemnations of the South over activists sending anti-Pyongyang leaflets over the border, something defectors do on a regular basis. Now, Pyongyang's official Korean Central Agency said Tuesday the liaison office's destruction was in line with the mindset of the enraged people to surely force human scum and those who have sheltered the scum to pay dearly for their crimes, unquote. Last week, Pyongyang announced it was severing all official communication links with Seoul. Meanwhile, the Kremlin called for restraint following a sharp escalation in tensions after North Korea blew up a liaison office near its border with South Korea. This is a concern. We urge all parties to show restraint, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov told reporters, adding that Russia would be closely monitoring the situation. The Kremlin, an ally of the Stalinist regime, was not planning any talks at the highest level for the moment, he said. Analysts say Pyongyang may be seeking to manufacture a crisis to increase pressure on Seoul while nuclear talks with Washington are at a standstill. After days of increasingly virulent rhetoric from Pyongyang, North Korea blew up the Inter-Korean liaison office on its side of the border on Tuesday. Meanwhile, 3 Indian soldiers were killed in a violent face-off on the Chinese border, according to the Indian Army, following weeks of rising tensions and the deployment of thousands of extra troops from both sides. Brawls erupt regularly between the two nuclear-armed giants across their disputed 3,500-kilometer frontier, but no one has been killed in decades. But the Indian Army said there were casualties on both sides in Monday's incident on the Himalayan frontier between China's Tibet and India's region Ladakh, although Beijing made no mention of any while laying the blame squarely on Delhi. Beijing on Tuesday confirmed a clash took place, but made no mention of casualties. It accused Indian soldiers of crossing into Chinese territory and attacking Chinese personnel. India and China have never even agreed on how long their line of actual control frontier is, and each side uses different frontier proposals made by Britain to China in the 19th century to back their claims. Relations between China and India have long been prickly. They fought a brief war in 1962 in which China took territory from India. Further deadly clashes followed in 1967, but the last shot fired in anger was in 1975. In 2017, there was a 72-day showdown after Chinese forces moved into the disputed Doklam Plateau on the China-Indian-Bhutan border. After that, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chinese leader Xi Jinping sought to ease tensions at summits. In a televised interview, President Vladimir Putin said that Russia has been more successful in dealing with the coronavirus than the U.S. He contrasted the situations in the two countries. Take a look.
Но все-таки мы достаточно ритмично, так скажем, да, работаем и выходим из этой ситуации с коронавирусом уверенно, с минимальными потерями. Дай бог, чтобы так и было. А в Штатах так не происходит. Мне кажется, что эта проблема заключается в том, что групповые партийные интересы в данном случае ставятся выше интересов всего общества и интересов народа.
Regions are gradually lifting lockdown restrictions, and Moscow has reopened non-essential shops and hairdressers. The United States has the world's largest number of cases by far at 2.07 million. President Putin told state television the coronavirus pandemic had exposed deep-seated internal crisis in the U.S., and he criticized a lack of strong leadership on the virus situation, saying that, quote, the U.S. president says we need to do such and such, but the governors somewhere tell him where to go, unquote. In Russia, however, he argued the government and regional leaders work as one team and do not differ from the official line. President Putin also criticized anti-racism protests in the U.S. for sparking crowd violence. In his first comments on the issue, President Putin also described the protests as a sign of deep-seated internal crisis in the U.S., linking the unrest to the coronavirus pandemic, which he said has shown a spotlight on general problems. He also said he nevertheless expected that the fundamental basis of American democracy will allow the country to escape this series of crisis events. The interview was billed as President Putin's first since the start of the pandemic, but it is not clear when it was recorded. Bangladesh resumes international flights and the dengue outbreak amidst the coronavirus pandemic. Arabel Pascua reports from Bangladesh.
Here are the latest updates in Bangladesh, Alma. Bangladesh is set to resume international flight operations on June 16 after a hiatus of almost 2 months due to the coronavirus pandemic. Operations will resume in compliance with the principles of health rules and discretion according to Civil Aviation Authority of Bangladesh. For the time being, Biman Bangladesh Airlines will be able to transport passengers on the Dhaka-UK-Dhaka route, and Qatar Airways will only be able to transport transit passengers on the Doha-Dhaka-Doha route. Meanwhile, another 2 airlines have sought permission to resume regular flight in Bangladesh as well. The 2 airlines were Turkish Airlines, the national flag carrier airline of Turkey, and Emirates, a state-owned flag carrier airline based in Garhoud, Dubai, United Arab Emirates. A number of other international airlines have also expressed interest in resuming their flights and may soon apply for permission. Here's another update, Alma. As Bangladesh grapples with the coronavirus pandemic, the arrival of the rainy season has given way to Aedes mosquito and dengue fever. Experts have urged the city corporation to take strong measures to combat the dengue fever this year while calling on the citizens to stay alert. A total of 311 dengue cases were registered across Bangladesh until June 13, according to the Directorate General of Health Services. Dhaka is the epicenter of the outbreak with 243 cases. 3 patients are currently receiving treatment in hospitals, while 308 have been discharged. Many dengue patients are receiving care at home as the hospitals are currently flooded with COVID-19 patients. National Malaria Elimination and Aedes Transmitted Disease Control Program under the DGHS conducted a pre-season survey in March, followed by an inspection of the DNCC areas from June 6 to 13. The NCC has undertaken steps to combat the Aedes mosquito problem, said Mayor Atikul Islam. He stressed the need for creating awareness among the citizens. A quick update of COVID-19 cases in Bangladesh, Alma. 90,619 confirmed cases with 1 discretion according to Civil Aviation Authority of Bangladesh. For the time being, Biman Bangladesh Airlines will be able to transport passengers on the Dhaka-UK-Dhaka route, and Qatar Airways will only be able to transport transit passengers on the Doha-Dhaka-Doha route. Meanwhile, another 2 airlines have sought permission to resume regular flight in Bangladesh as well. The 2 airlines were...
The Vietnamese government has protested against China's laying of underwater cables between outposts in Vietnam's Soang Paracel Islands. Ralph Vandolph Empire reports from Hanoi.
Vietnam has voiced its objection to China's installment of undersea cables in the former Hoang Sa Paracel archipelago. I quote in a statement, Vietnam has sufficient historical evidence and legal grounds affirming its sovereignty over the Hoang Sa and Truong Sa or Spratly archipelagos in accordance with international law. Unquote. Let T. Tu Hang, spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, stressed while answering questions about the incident during a regular press conference on Thursday. Hang was referring to 2 groups of islands administered by Vietnam in the East Vietnam Sea. Any activity conducted in Hoang Sa and Truong Sa without Vietnam's permission is null and void, she underlined. Relevant countries need to act responsibly and refrain from complicating the situation in the East Vietnam Sea and have to contribute to the maintenance of peace and security in the maritime area, Hang stated. Banner News previously reported that a ship named Tian Yi Hai Gong had left Shanghai on May 28 and headed to Vietnam's Hoang Sa. There is no specific information on the movement of Tian Yi Hai Gong, the news outlet said, adding it could only confirm that the ship was built in early 2020 and carried a Chinese flag. Satellite images later showed that the vessel placed undersea cables to connect Kai Tree Island Back, North Island, and Phu Lam or Woody Island in Hoang Sa where many Chinese soldiers are illegally stationed. On June 5, the ship traveled to southwest to the island of Baba, or Yagong, and Zui Mong, Drummond in the Huangsa archipelago. Better News cited 3 experts as saying that the activity was related to the submarine cable system that China has been operating illicitly in the East Vietnam Sea. The cable system is likely used for military purposes, the experts added. In 2016, Reuters reported that China had installed a cable system connecting Vietnam's Philippine province. This is a well-funded deadline in Vietnam, and we live in interesting times.
Thank you, Ralph. Eagle News, we'll be right back.
The successful development of TPLEX, or Tarlac-Pangasinan-La Union Expressway in 2009, a 4-lane toll road that extends from Tarlac City to Rosario, La Union, with an additional approved extension of 56 kilometers all the way to San Juan, La Union. This is expected to reduce travel time to Baguio and other provinces in northern Luzon. Realizing the vision of creating a better world for Filipinos fueled the team's focus.
Welcome back. Singapore will suspend the construction of a major airport terminal for at least 2 years as global aviation struggles to recover from the coronavirus pandemic, according to the Transport Minister today. Cao Bun Van said the government will use the time to study how the industry will change after the pandemic and to introduce new designs so that facility can meet future health and safety requirements. Experts have suggested airlines must brace for changes more challenging than those that followed the 2001 Twin Tower attacks in the U.S. Changi Airport's Terminal 5, handling up to 50 million passengers a year in its initial phase, has been due for completion around 2030. The airline business has been badly hit by the pandemic, with industry experts not expecting traffic to return to 2019 levels before 2023. In other news, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced that Canada and a dozen other countries have launched the Global Partnership on Artificial Intelligence. Take a look.
In many ways, COVID-19 is a challenge like we've never dealt with before. But it certainly isn't the only test we're facing. In an increasingly complex and interconnected world, we need to think outside the box in order to keep people safe, to grow our economy, and to shape our future for the better. Artificial intelligence has the potential to be an incredibly powerful force for good, but it must be used responsibly and ethically. And on that front, Canada is continuing to lead the way forward. Today, as one of 13 founding members, Canada helped launch the Global Partnership on Artificial Intelligence. As part of this initiative, we've also worked with the government of Quebec to set up a center of expertise in Montreal, which will be one of the partnership's 2 global hubs. This country is home to some of the world's most innovative people, not to mention the fact that Canadians have pioneered much of today's AI tech.
In addition to Canada, the partnership include Australia, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, Mexico, New Zealand, South Korea, Singapore, the United Kingdom, and the United States. The Prime Minister said that one of 2 centers of expertise will be set up in Montreal, as we heard, and the other in Paris. And he touted the contribution of Canada to this field. President Duterte said he wants students in far-flung areas be given transistor radios as the Department of Education, or DepEd, prepares to carry out its alternative learning program this August. In his public address Monday evening, President Duterte expressed concern over the lack of access of many students to computers and other technologies that will connect them to online learning under DepEd's blended learning approach. Take a look.
As announced, schools will open on August 24, but there is still no face-to-face sessions until we get a vaccine. Because ang iposta mo dyan, in your desire to resume classes, ang kapalit niyan is really, the COVID is still here. Nandyan pa yung, hindi lang pa umabot pa sa iyo. Instead, we will follow a blended learning approach. Part of this learning strategy is distance and online learning using communications, technology, and digital devices. Now, for the far-flung areas, meron siyang, yun nga ang kawawa dyan is yung may radyo sana, walang TV, walang cellphone, wala lahat. Ito yung mahirap, the lack of communications or how to get through these students. Paski radyo lang. Ang radyo ngayon is will by 300, sabi ni Secretary Briones. Baka kung magtagal ito talaga, sayang ang panahon, we might buy the radio at 300, maibigay sa lahat ng barangay. Maabot ng radyo para naman yung mga mahirap may communication sila sa teacher nila. As long as you are really interested to learn, ito yung mga mahirap, kaawa naman. We will try to come up with something in the next few days. Maybe before the end of the week, I would be able to look for the money. Wala na tayong pera ngayon. I would look for the money to buy transistor radios to be distributed all throughout the country.
President Duterte reiterated that there will be no face-to-face class sessions until there's a vaccine to protect the students from catching COVID-19 as DepEd opens the school year in the midst of the pandemic. Distance and online learning using communication technologies and digital devices will be part of DepEd's learning strategy under the blended learning approach. And students who don't have access to computers and internet will be provided with various learning modules in coordination with local officials. Now, during the meeting with the President, Education Secretary Leonor Briones said DepEd is negotiating with 2 telecommunication firms for free telecom services. Eagle News will be right back.
Listo at ganado ang baby ko sa vet-approved Nutri-Chunks with active boost and prebiotics na pampalisto. Made with real meat, with essential nutrients to help them grow healthy and happy. Listo, ganado sa Nutri-Chunks.
Mula noon hanggang ngayon, gabay natin ang MTRCB ratings sa matalino at responsableng panonood. Sa tamang pagsunod sa MTRCB ratings, ginagawa nating ligtas at makabuluhan ang panonood ng bawat miyembro ng pamilyang Pilipino. Lumipas man ang panahon, hanggang may pamilyang Pilipino, andyan ang MTRCB.
Welcome back. A large parking lot near Yankee Stadium will be home to a drive-in festival, as Joan Blanco Soriano reports. Joan.
At a time when people are looking to come together, a drive-in festival is coming to the parking lot of Yankee Stadium in hopes of bringing people together in a fun, relaxing, and safe way. I spoke with Marco Shalma, the founder of the Uptown Drive-In Experience. So, Marco, can you tell me how you came up with this idea to have the drive-in and at Yankee Stadium, no less?
It's in a parking lot near Yankee Stadium, one of the larger parking lots over there. The idea came about in late March, right after we start, New York starts shutting down according to the governor's instruction. And I think like the first week when we realized that the rest of our events for the year, we had 120 events planned for this year, and we realized those are being canceled. And the concept of like driving came about from, we had a conversation about the fact that we think that only for the rest of the year, we can only do under 500 people events. Because the way that Governor Cuomo just closed down the city was like, no more than 500, 50, 10, and 0. We figured that's going to go back up in the reopening, but we thought it's going to stay under 500. Then the question came in the team, can 500 people be 500 cars?
Why bring a drive-in to New York City?
It's funny because like I wasn't born in this country and I moved in about 15 years ago. But growing up, like just looking at what I've seen through movies and TV shows about like Americana, Yankee Stadium, driving, baseball, all that kind of stuff. Like those elements that I kind of grew up on. We don't have a driving over here. I wish we could. And once this kind of opportunity came about, it was perfect because I felt like even for a short while, even just for one summer, we can create like a cool driving experience right by between Yankee Stadium and the Harlem River. We are so excited to start. We can't wait. We want to see people's reaction. We keep getting such positive feedback from everybody. But 2.5 weeks after the launch, almost 39,000 people signed up for the wait list. 39,000 people.
That is awesome. How can people get tickets and how much will it cost?
Tickets at the moment, you can only sign for the waiting list. The ticket price will range right now. I think we're working to make it affordable. The idea is to not exceed the $25 per person for the full experience, which includes the food, the beverage, entertainment. So you come in, you have some food, you listen to some music or see a show, you have a little bit of a game interaction, and then you watch the film or the films or whatnot, and then you had like 3 hours of like really good time. The idea was, how do we make it more community-based, community-involved? And we started talking about the idea of, okay, what do we need? So we do a lot of events in the food space. So we have a lot of vendors in a Rolodex, so we can find way for them to start working again, because those street vendors were not working since last December at least.
Given all the current events going on between coronavirus and now the protesting and what's going on within even that community, is this something that people need right now?
I think the whole idea, stemmed from the understanding that, we will need to connect with each other. We will need to have a moment of positivity. We will need to be reminded that culture and art and food and getting together is something that is like basically human. At the end of the day, we are fighting to bring some sort of sense of normalcy to New Yorkers. I think it's important as New Yorkers, as people.
Thank you, Marco. I'll be there with my popcorn. Reporting from New York, this is Joanne Soriano, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Okay, our ABC correspondent in Italy, who's also a chef, by the way, Lance Junio, will teach us or show us how to make chocolate mousse with vanilla panna cotta. Lance?
Ciao a tutti, io sono Lance Junio, and today I will teach you how to make a mousse with a vanilla heart. The mousse is a French dessert, which could be savory or sweet. But today I will do a sweet one, which is a chocolate one. But today I have a little twist on it because the vanilla heart is a panna cotta, which is an Italian dessert. So first we have to do the panna cotta. The ingredients for today, we need 115 milliliters of whipped cream, 115 milliliters of whipped cream, gelatin, half of a foil, 30 grams of sugar, 5 grams of butter. First, I have to put the whipped cream inside the fridge so it's cold. After that, I have to whip the cream. And in the meanwhile, I have to put the gelatin foil in a bowl with cold water for 10 to 15 minutes. So we have to boil the whipped cream with the sugar and butter. After taking the gelatin foil, squeeze it and add it into the pot. Now I transfer the mixture in another bowl, which can chill for some minutes. Now I'm adding 1 scoop of vanilla extract. So now let's whip the cream, not firm but soft. Now I have to incorporate 1 part of the whipped cream inside the vanilla mixture. So after I put the panna cotta inside the fridge, I have to do the biscuits. The ingredients for the biscuits are 150 grams of chocolate with 50 grams of butter, 50 grams of white sugar, 50 grams of flour, and 4 eggs. In the meantime, you have to preheat your oven at 180 degrees. So the first thing I have to do is to melt the chocolate with butter inside the microwave. After that, I have to separate the egg yolks and the egg whites. Now I have to add the sugar with the egg yolk and I have to mix it. After I mix it, I have to pour some of the chocolate with butter inside this bowl. So now I have to whip the egg whites and then I have to incorporate the egg whites into the chocolate mix bowl. Let's then add the flour while sieving it. When you reach a smooth consistency, you have to put it in a tray with parchment paper and then bake it in the oven for 10 to 12 minutes. So the next step is to make the mousse hearts. After putting it in the stamps, freeze it for 30 to 40 minutes. Take out the biscuit base when it's fully cooked. For the body of the mousse, we need 250 milliliters of milk, half of a liter of whipped cream, 1 gelatin foil, and 350 grams of chopped chocolate. Okay, so let's boil the milk. And then we have to add the milk slowly to the chocolate. Una cosa che bisogna ricordarsi di quando si fa la mousse, in questo caso il cioccolato, è di versare poco alla volta il latte caldo sul cioccolato così che non diventa scuro. Okay, now let's whip the cream, not firm but soft. I whipped the cream before and I added to the chocolate mixture and then this is the result. Okay, so let's compose the mousse with the vanilla heart. So this is the result of the vanilla hearts. As you can see, it's pretty hard. After composing the mousse, wrap it with plastic wrap and chill it for 1 night. This is the result of the mousse, so let's cut it. You can see the mousse, the vanilla heart, and then the biscuit. From Milan, Italy, I'm Lan Suino, and we live in interesting times.
Thank you, Lance. And before we close, we'll leave you with a word of hope. At the end of the day, there remains so much more to be grateful for. See you again tomorrow evening. Good night, I'm Alma Angeles. We live in interesting times.
This program was brought to you by Bank Bank of Commerce, an affiliate of San Miguel Corporation. We think customers.
SMC Infrastructure, building a better world. Vet-approved NutriChocs, the only premium dog food with active boost for optimum energy and prebiotics that help strengthen immunity. Just like Catherine Bernardo, gawing listo, ganado ang fur babies nyo. Listo ganado sa NutriChocs.